Recently, we've been inundated with incredible entries through our dedicated Showoff website, where Elementor users can submit their website creations for a chance to be featured on our Showoff Instagram channel. In March, one website in particular stood out to us, which was a website for CC Digital, who provide a management and marketing service for influencers. The website was created by Onlychild Designs, and I'm excited to be joined today by founder Lina Cordero and also their lead developer, Naza Caggiano. So welcome, guys. Thank you so much for joining me today, and it's great to have you here.
Thank you. Thanks for having us.
Hi. Welcome to both of you. So perhaps, obviously you're going to need to take turns here. Perhaps you could just both give us a very quick introduction about yourselves, your background, and what you do for a living.
Perfect. Yeah, I can take that one first. My name is Lina Cordero. I'm the founder of Onlychild Design. I'm also a creative director with a background in design. And yeah, I've been running Onlychild for over 4 years. We are a full service design studio, and we work mostly with women founders or people that are changing the landscape for women altogether. Naza?
I'm Naza. I'm Onlychild's developer. I've been creating websites since I was just 10 years old. The first time was when I saw a girl featured on a magazine that created her first website. And at the time, I didn't realize that you could build a website without coding. So since then, I've tried various website building platforms, but I hadn't tried yet the most popular one, which was WordPress. And 5 years ago, I decided to enroll on the WordPress course, and that's where I discovered Elementor. And since then, I've been making websites with Elementor, and my career took off, and now I'm working on a LA-based agency with Lina and Naza, who is also the other developer on our team and who played a big role on this project too. And so very grateful with Elementor, with Lina, and I'm very, very happy to be working as a developer.
Well, I'm happy to have you. So
Well, it's great to find out a little bit about you both. Naza, you talked about Elementor, which does lead on to my next question. I'd love to learn more about your journey with Elementor, and this is directed at both of you. Why did you start to use Elementor?
So I discovered Elementor on that WordPress course, and my professor, Sime, who was really amazing, she used it for her own agency. So I started using Elementor to build websites for my first clients, and I fell in love with it. And then I decided to learn to code to give a personal touch to the sites. And since then, I've been working only with Elementor, with WordPress.
And Lina, what about your experience? Do you dive into the Elementor editor much?
my experience is sending everything to Naza and hoping he takes care of it. Yes.
Looking at your portfolio, Naza is obviously a bit of an Elementor wizard, so that seems like the right thing to do for sure.
Yes, and it's also really easy for the clients to edit things. I sent them tutorials, so that's really helpful for us. So clients don't need to rely on ourselves for everything. If you need to change an image or change a text, it's really easy to use Elementor for them too. So that's great.
Wow, that's great. That's really insightful to find out a little bit about your journey, first of all, and then how it transitioned into using Elementor. And obviously, we're very pleased that it did. So perhaps we could move on to the CC Digital project now. I have several questions about it. I'm sure we'll just end up in a general conversation, but perhaps you could talk to me about the scope and the goals of this project. Things like the client, what is their background? What were their requirements? That type of thing.
Yes, absolutely. I can take that one. So Keisha, who's the owner of CC Digital, came to us with this challenge of making her website better. Her website was already a WordPress site, but it wasn't really transmitting much. It was a site that was lacking personality. It was lacking content. It was just altogether very clunky, hard to navigate. So one of the things that was also very important is that site was not resonating with the current audience. They have an audience of millennial and Gen Z influencers. So, and the site that they had was not reflecting that. So the challenge with it was that we didn't have any content or really anything to rely on. So, and that has been really particular about this project, that we started with almost nothing. We didn't have brand guidelines. We didn't have much content, and we were like, okay, which is always also a blessing in disguise, right? Because when the client's just like, well, like you have, like, go ahead, do whatever you want. So that's what we did. The first thing that we did was creating some sort of style guides for the site, and I can share them right here with you all. So the first thing that we did was going into that site. We did start with what they currently have. They were already using these two colors. They didn't want to go away from that. So we utilized those, did a little bit of changing in the hue of it and a bit more saturated. We incorporated these two other values, and then we did a big change on their typography. We wanted to modernize that and make it feel a lot more dynamic than what they were already using. The next thing that we did was, because we didn't have a lot of content to rely on, like, what do we do, right? Let's make the talent the center of these. Like, that's really what their entire business is about. So that's why we decided to have that slider in the homepage with all of the talent, and that's very dynamic. They can just change the talent they come and go. It's super easy to do in their backend for them. And I guess the third thing that we did on this side was adding detail. We were like, okay, we have very little going on in terms of content. How do we add little things to make the user a little bit more engaged? So that's where we decided to do custom hovers and all of those details that we added into the site.
That's great. Thank you so much for showing us the design assets as well. And I think visiting the site several times, I can definitely see where you mentioned that you showcased the talent, and that really comes through in the website. It was immediately obvious to me what this website was about, the people that they work with, and also just those little things as well that you added in just make a real difference. Let's talk about the research that was involved in the project. You've mentioned you didn't have too much to go on, which can be a blessing in disguise sometimes. It can also make life really hard for you. Did you find yourself doing much in-depth research to really nail down the specifications for this project?
Yes, that's definitely always part of our process. We always go in and research what the competition is doing, but also what other websites out there are doing in terms of typography, animations, things like that. So our research process is usually very messy. It goes like, it's too many tabs open, and it goes into, yes, the industry that we're tackling, but also very random industries and things that we always stay inspired with. So yes, something I love about my development team, they're always down for the challenge. I'll be like, guys, do you think we could do that? We'll figure it out. So definitely super, super grateful for you both for always being down to anything.
Sounds like you have a very close-knit team that works well together. And with this particular one, it sounds as well like the risk was worth the reward of, presenting to the client, the more than you would do normally. And it obviously paid off. I think it would be a great time, Naza, to take a look at the website if you're happy to share your screen with us and perhaps talk us through some of the elements that you put together for this website, and obviously show the audience the actual website itself. So whenever you're ready.
Perfect. Here we are on the home page. So let's take a look at the hero section. That is the main section here. We have 2 titles, a button and an image carousel. All of these are Elementor elements. So what we did was to add some custom code to make all of these images clickable with the links that lead to each talent. And then what we did was to add another script to assign to each image a different margin to create this alternating effect that I was talking about before. And then with CSS, we created this custom cursor that invites the user to click on the images. Then we have 2 more sections. We have this running line here that showcases the agency services. We did this with HTML and CSS code. And then we have this logo carousel that we also created with HTML and CSS. And we use 2 key features from Elementor to make this website. The first one was the Elementor integration with ACF. Custom fields, we created 2 custom post types, one for talents and another one for news. So you can see here. So here the client is able to upload new talents and news articles. And what we did was, with the Elementor theme builder, create a template for each talent. And with the integration, we could easily assign the headings, the text, the gallery, all of the information. Then here we had some talents that had more than one Instagram profile, or some of them had YouTube channels, some of them didn't. So we created a code to hide the links that were empty. And then another feature that we used was the Elementor loop builder. We built a loop for the talent, and here we had some of the animations that we were talking about before, like this zoom in when you hover and the name of the talent turns pink. And then with the Elementor loop grid, we showed it on the talent page. So this was the final result here. And we took a similar approach with the news page. We created another loop for each new article, and we've added this custom cursor here to invite the user to read the full article. And then we have the same loop grid, but for news on the news page. And then we have the about page, which is made with Elementor elements, and we use some of the Elementor motion effects and transform effects. And the contact page is very simple. We have title, text, and an Elementor form. So yeah, that's it.
Wow, that's a really in-depth overview of the entire website. I was just expecting just a demo of the homepage, so thank you so much.
Okay.
It's also it's a good thing. It was very good to see, and very valuable for our users to see this as well. I'm especially excited to see the loop grids and the loop builder being put into actual use, because we use it a lot at Elementor. We're making demonstration videos all the time, but to see it in a real world project is super exciting. And with the amazing designs that you've incorporated it all very well. I have a quick question about ACF. You've obviously mentioned that there's an integration there. Have you allowed access to your client and taught them how to update that aspect of the website themselves so they can easily add new talents to the website? Or is that something that you do for them?
It's something that the client does by itself. We send them tutorials. As you can see, it's very easy. You just click add new. Here the client fills the form, and the Elementor theme builder does its job and shows the content with the template.
Takes care of all the work in the background. That's great.
We work with a lot of small businesses too, and we want to make sure that we empower them to do things on their own as well, because a lot of them, maybe they don't have a maintenance plan or they don't have an in-house team that is doing that for them. So always like sending them tutorials and making sure that they're able to pursue things on their own is super important for us.
And that's the great thing about WordPress and Elementor, is that you have a platform there that is easy to teach to clients. So if a client isn't able to take out a maintenance plan, then to be able to teach them how to update their website themselves is incredibly valuable. Naza, I have another question for you about Elementor. You've mentioned quite a few features there, but is there anything that really stands out for you in the product? And not just for this website, but just for your development process in general. Is there anything about Elementor that you really couldn't live without?
The ability to create custom post templates. I think that's an essential feature. And now we've used it for a couple of e-commerce sites too. And we've tried the new WooCommerce look builder.
Great to hear you're using it with e-commerce as well. What about your future goals with Elementor? Do you plan to continue to use Elementor on client websites? Is it a tool that you see yourself staying with for the foreseeable future?
Sure. We are really excited to try the new AI features, and we are going to continue to use it. It's the main tool that we use to create websites, so we'll keep it that way.
That's great to hear. And there's lots of very exciting features and updates coming up, including the AI, as you've just mentioned, which they're all going to help everybody build websites even more efficiently, which is incredibly exciting to see. So thank you guys for joining me today. That was incredibly insightful. I would like to personally thank you both for taking the time out of your day to speak to me and just to share such valuable knowledge to the Elementor community. I will be sure to link to the winning CC Digital website as well as the Onlychild design website in the video description below. So thank you all for watching, and I will see you all next time.
Thank you.
Thank you.